So yesterday we started about classroom techniques, and I put this on. It's really funny. Yesterday morning, I got this from a app that I use, a Bible app that I use that had this Proverbs on there. They have a something each day, and was train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he would not depart from it. And I was just kind of using an analogy. That's really how we train our students. We train our students in the way they should be as a black belt in training. Then when they get that, they never depart from it. I thought it was really neat. One of the clients wrote back after I did this because I can't believe that was the same proverb that was on my app for my Bible. I go, we must use the same app. So he thought it was a coincidence, but I thought that was pretty neat. So we're going to continue with that. Last day, this was the last thing that I talked about yesterday, and was kind of what I call 4 platforms. And so when we're doing a technique, a way of extending that technique so we get a lot of reps, I always have the students just follow me along on their spots. So they're not doing these as moving drills, but I may be reviewing a front kick and they're just doing front kicks on their dots. They're following me. I show them, I'm demonstrating them, I'm calling out the numbers, and they're just getting a lot of reps done. And of course, I still want to get better, so I go on the second level of the platform. The second level of the platform is doing these moving. So if they're doing front kicks, they may be doing front kicks advancing. They may do a slide-up front kick. They may do a pop-up front kick. But there's some type of movement instead of just doing a stance. There's footwork involved. After that, I give them time to just practice. And we call this black belt practice time. I really like black belt practice time because I'm turning on some music. Their kids are doing the drills. I get a chance to go from one child to the other child, walk the lines. So that's just black belt practice time. It's teaching them how to train on their own. Next thing we do is application. So we did it on the dots. We did it moving. We added in the footwork. We give them time to just memorize it. But if you start thinking that we just did 30 reps on each of these, by the time I'm done with black belt practice time, they've done like 90 reps. So there's a lot of reps. But they haven't hit anything or they haven't done anything towards a partner. So our 4th step in the platform is now to do drills on pads or drills with targets or drills towards each other. So now if they're doing another 30, in our warm-up, which just maybe 5 minutes or so, they've done over 100 reps. Anyone doing 100 reps is going to get better at what they're doing. Now, so this is what I covered yesterday, and this is just what we do. I want to expand out a little today. A couple things. When I do a technique like this, I want to make sure I express my expectations. So I don't just say, okay, let's kick. I'm going to say, hey guys, this is a white belt class. White belts, I know sometimes they hold their beliefs a little low and they kick a little bit low, but as experience, I've been doing martial arts for a long time. I know white belts can really kick as high as their chin. So I expect everyone in this class to kick as high as their chin. When you give your expectations of the group, you'll be amazed how everyone just does better. Because they go, oh, Mr. Silva's been doing this for a long time. He knows what to expect, and we're that good. And they'll just try to be that good. So normally, maybe they'll be kicking as high as their waist. If you tell them, hey, guys, at your level, I expect you to kick this high, they'll rise to that level. Sometimes I'll be doing a class, and in our classes, we have white belts to black belts. So I said, this is what I expect out of white belts. White belts should be able to kick this high. I said, yellow belts to green belts, you guys have more experience. You should be this high, and you guys that are black belts, you should be over your head. When I say that, it's really amazing how many kids will raise their level of expectations because they want to be like green belts, or a green belt may want to start acting like a black belt, and they're going to just push themselves harder. So this is one of those things we talk about with students, and I kind of use the analogy when you're teaching a student, having a string in front of you. Is it easier to push that string or to pull that string? Well, it's easier to pull the string. So when you're teaching students, I'm not going to push a student, I'm going to pull the best out of them. So this level of expectation is just me talking, me inspiring them, and then all of a sudden I'm pulling the best out of them. Another thing, if I'm doing this, I want to demonstrate the expectations to the students. Okay, white belts, this is what I expect. And I'm going to pop out a kick like a white belt. Of course, a little bit better because, again, I want to set my expectations a little higher. If I'm going to say this is what I expect out of my black belts, and I'm saying you got to kick head high, I'm going to do whatever kicker I'm going to do as high as I possibly can. I'm always looking for the students to have that wow factor. So not that you're showing off as an instructor, but you're demonstrating a skills of a black belt. So those are a couple things to do when you're doing these techniques, no matter if they're on the lines, if they're going across the room, if they're doing black belt practice time, if they're hitting pads. Set those little expectations and demonstrate so they say, oh, okay, that's what it's supposed to look like. Now, when doing these, we have to encourage or praise your students. So let's just talk about they're on their dots. So now they're on the dots, they're following my lead. I'm going to set the standards to motivate them. I'm also going to use friendly competition on effort and intensity. So when I say that, I'm going to say, okay, let's see who has the strongest key eyes. Is it this side of the room or is it this side of the room? So now I start some friendly competition. I'm not saying you're better or you're better. I'm saying who has the best intensity. Let me say, who's got the best effort? I mean, I want to see that stuff coming off your head that we call progress. I know you guys call it sweat, but if you're training here and you've got some progress coming out of your forehead, I know that you're putting in some effort. So I'm having friendly competition with one side against the other. Again, friendly competition just brings out the best in students without you pushing them. It's pulling the best out of them. Everyone would like to be the best. And so you use friendly competition. You don't always have one side winning. You're going back and forth. There's another term we use is proximity praising. So we're all on the dots, so we're all in a horse stance, we're all doing punches. And I'm looking at everyone and going, man, what's going on here? I'm seeing some terrible punches here, but I see one kid doing really good. So what I'm going to do is I'll stop the class and go, hey, David, I just got to tell you, I don't know what you're doing or what you're thinking, but those punches are spectacular. And what I really like is that horse stance is so deep. Keep up the good work. Now, when you have proximity praising, you're picking someone within a small group that's doing really good. You're praising them, but what the after effect or what the ripples are is everyone else is going to try a little bit harder. Because if I praise David and all of a sudden people around him start doing better, my next step is now to include those other people. Hey, David, I just stopped to say how good you're doing. But I got to tell you, Thomas, David, Stephanie over there, Jeremy over there, man, awesome intensity. So proximity praising means you want to raise the standard. Again, you want to pull the best out of them. So you find out someone who's doing really good, you praise them. Do some more. Now then include other people in his proximity in the praising. And again, this is the way to get the standards up. So that's the type of praising, and that's the type of coaching you do when they're on the dots. Now, after they do the dots, this is when we start adding the footwork. So students are starting doing moving drills. When we motivate this way, now we want to constantly encourage them. We want to challenge them. And now is the time to spotlight and highlight. These words are sometimes used interchangeably, but they're totally different things. Highlight is when I'm highlighting a group or a certain line. Spotlighting is when I put the spotlight on one person. Two things happen when you spotlight and you highlight. One, by giving praise to either a group of people, to that one person, they're going to feel better about themselves. They're going to try harder, start putting more effort into it. Next thing it does, it allows you to teach a higher level aspect of the technique without actually teaching, just talking about it in the other person. So, for instance, when I spotlight, first I've got to make sure I got everyone's attention. I want to talk about exactly what the student I spotlight is doing great. And I also want to talk about that, how that type of effort or that type of work is going to result in the long-term efforts of this student. So I've got Sally, Mr. Convento, everyone stop. Mr. Convento, come up here for a second. Everyone else take a knee. Everyone else goes, take a knee, sir. They drop down a knee. You go, Mr. Convento, I'm going to hold my hand up. I want to see that kick again. So all of a sudden he throws out a kick. I go, the reason I called you is I really like two things about that kick. I mean, it's a great kick, but two things I really like. One is the way you chamber, and then the one way is the rechamber. Your knees are right back in the same position. If you want to execute a second or third kick, man, you could do some wicked combinations. That type of training and that type of attention to detail is going to make you a great martial artist. That is spotlighting. So then all of a sudden, okay, everyone give Mr. Gimento 2 claps. Everyone gives him 2 claps. He sits down. Now I just praise Mr. Gimento. He feels really good about himself. Everyone else also knows what they have to do to make their kicks better. So again, this is a different type of praising. This isn't just a friendly competition. This is where I'm actually bringing a student up and spotlighting them. So as we're doing the kicks on the lines, we're looking for effort. That's why I said use friendly competition on effort and intensity. Number 2 is when we're doing the moving drills. Now we want to hone in on a little more specifics and get everything a little bit better. Yesterday I said that students learn by movement, not information. So the first thing we want to do, especially with kids, we got to get them moving. Now that they're moving, now we take time to build up the standard or make some corrections. So when they're in their lines on their dots, we're getting them to try harder and do it more intense. Now when they're moving, we have a chance to spotlight people and get the technique a little bit better. Number 3 is black belt practice time. Black belt practice time, again, is where you're giving them 90 seconds, 2 minutes to practice on their own. This way, they're just having fun doing their martial arts training. Now, when they have fun doing the martial arts training, you're going to motivate them by walking the lines. Walking the lines just means that if you have 3 lines of students, you're going to go through each line. Each time you get in front of someone, you have a chance to do a pat on the back. You can give them some type of praise. You can just pop your hands, whatever you're doing. That's time to make individual contact. So it's individual attention in a group situation. At the same time I'm doing that, I'm training my assistants to become good finders. Now my assistants aren't really teaching. What they're looking, especially at the beginning, just to become good finders and to praise other students. So assistants should not be looking for faults and correcting. They should be looking for things doing well. Number 4 is now we're breaking down into we're hitting pads or we're doing partner drills. Now this time our motivation gets very specific. Our motivation is we're going to climb the black belt principle ladder, or we call them the ladder of black belt qualities. Black belt qualities are, I want to have a good foundation, a good stance. I want to make sure when I'm doing my technique, I'm striking with the right part of my hand or foot, so I'm using the right weapon. That as I'm continuing practicing, I'm getting more powerful. As I continue to practice, I get more speed. My students are having proper execution and intensity. So we're doing pad hitting. We're going to do some padding. Okay, guys, we're doing really great. What I'm seeing is on these roundhouse kicks, there's a lot of good technique, but there's not a lot of power. Let's work on rotation. Now they're doing a little bit more. Hey, guys, it's looking a little bit better. Add one thing to your power. Let's do some penetration. Hit that target and strike through the target. They do that. Okay, now we're going to be faster. We're going to work on quick takeoff. When you decide to quick, it's not that, or kick, you're not going to wind up. You're just going to jump off the line and kick really fast. That footwork's got to be quick. So as we're doing the pad hitting drills and partner drills, again, we're trying to motivate the students by working on their stances, working on their weapon, working on power, working on speed, correct execution, and intensity. So now we have, okay, we've got the 4-step platform. We're getting a lot of repetition by doing the techniques in different ways. At the same time, in each section, there's a different way to motivate your students. So again, if I talk too fast on that, I will send this out as a recording and you'll have a chance to take a look at it. Next thing I want to talk about today is utilizing assistants. Assistants, I'm not really talking about assistant instructors. I'm talking about assistants that I'm the head instructor. There's 20 people in the class. There's other people that are walking around helping students out, but they're not teaching the class. So assistant is just assisting, they're not teaching. So if I'm talking and I'm teaching, they're not talking over me. So what's their job if they're on the floor? One is to lead by example. So if we're doing those kicks from the dots and they're kicking along with every other student or they're facing the students, they're leading by examples. They're doing it the correct way. I really like using assistants that are just a little older than the students that are teaching, so they can see someone approximately their age and their size doing these things really, really well. Next thing they're going to do is train side by side with students. So if I have an assistant and we're doing kicks and they notice someone who's not doing the kicks very, very good, they're going to just stand by their student and they're going to just do the kicks along with them. This would be really important, like if you had new white belts in your class and all of a sudden your assistant said, well, this guy's brand new, he doesn't know exactly what he's doing yet. So I'm just going to stand side by side with him for part of the class, then I'll stand side by side to another student. That's a great way to use an assistant. They're also going to lead by example with the protocol. We talked about the importance of protocol yesterday. So your assistants, if I call Dave up to be my assistant, he's going to yell, yes, sir, really, really strong. He's going to come running up to me showing enthusiasm. When he bows to me, he's going to do a good bow. So he's leading by example with protocol. He's going to lead by example by helping me clean. So after the class is over, if we have to put the pads away, I'm using my assistants. They're taking a couple of volunteers to students, and they're leading by example of helping keep the studio clean. If we're doing exercises, and maybe not everyone likes to do the exercises yet, and you're doing push-ups, well, your assistant who's leading by example, he's doing the best push-ups ever. So they're leading by example on all the things done in class. Assistants are going to be helping you. If you're teaching a class of 15, 20 students, and all of a sudden someone's belt falls off, you're not going to stop the class and go over and tie the student's belt. Assistant will do that. If I'm teaching a class and I go right leg back, and I've got 15 people and 14 have their right leg back and one's got the left side back, well, my assistant's going to go around and just tap on the shoulder and have him switch legs. I'm going to teach my assistants to read body language. If they notice a student in class who's not putting effort and also maybe looks like they're bored and they're reading some negative body language, well, they're going to go over and help that student. My assistants are going to make friends. They're going to make sure that if a new student comes in, they introduce themselves. They're going to talk to them. They're not going to just talk to their favorite friends in class. They're going to talk to everyone, so they're making friends. They're encouraging students. This is why I say that they're not really teaching yet, and they're not making corrections. All their talk to students, if they're assisting me, should be to encourage them. Now on this sheet, I said use the L pattern from the side. When I have assistants, I've been to some schools and they'll have 4 assistants on the floor. And to me, sometimes it looks like crazy ants. So you got like these 4 assistants and they're running all over, cutting in front of each other, going from student to student. And there's really almost a disruption to the class. So I like my assistants if I have 2 assistants, one's going to be walking the length of the class, then half of the width of the class, back to the corner, and then back up. My other assistants on the other side, they're walking down the lines, towards the middle, come back, and up the lines. So it's very organized. Now from there, if they see someone having a challenge, they won't go across the room. They'll go up to their line and then directly across. So the assistants aren't going to disrupt kind of the feeling and flow of class by being all over the place. They have stations. They're up and down the lines, halfway to the center, up down the line. So we've got to make sure that the assistants know their floor positions during the class. I want my instructors to have eagle eyes. Eagle eyes is for looking for that student with the wrong leg back. I just know from experience and watching from the side, if someone's got their left leg back and they're supposed to have the right leg back and you're doing a few repetitions, the parents are thinking, isn't anyone watching my son? So when I'm training my instructors, we're going to do some practicing that they have to identify if someone's got the wrong leg back, the wrong leg forward, anything like that. And the last thing my instructor assistants are going to do, they're going to bring any challenges, the attention to my instructors after class. So I don't want them coming and say, hey, you know, David over there is really mixed up on his form. Well, if they notice David's really mixed up in the form, that's okay. Make a little note on their clipboard. After class, talk to instructor and say, I just want to bring to your attention that we do have a student who's really lost on the form. And the instructor probably knows already, but the point here is that they talk about challenges after class, not during class, where the instructors or where the students can overhear that. So there's a lot of stuff here. I think the most important thing that we talked about is a continuation of yesterday, and that's taking the 4 platforms and how to have specific praising for each platform you're on. You don't want to, as an instructor, just have one technique for praising and setting standards. Here we have 4 different ones. We can actually have one for each of those platforms. Students practicing on the dots, moving with the footwork, doing black belt practice time, and hitting pads or partner drills. I want to talk about this as far as using assistants, just so you get this visual. Give you some ideas. Too many times assistants will start looking for fault. When I train my assistants, one of the things I may do is I'll just do a push-up and I'll do it really good and I'll say, how did I do? And everyone goes, oh, you did good. And then I'll do one really, really bad and go, how did I do? And they'll just bring me up and down. Oh, you did this wrong. You had your butt in the air. You didn't put your head up. You didn't go all the way down. They can find everything doing wrong. And I say, hey, guys, why didn't you find that many things when I did it correct? How come you didn't say, hey, you went nice and low. Your back was straight. Your chest almost hit the floor. You put a lot of effort. So you really have to teach your assistants become good finders in everything they do. That's why I really make it a policy that for the first 3-6 months, there's no corrections. There's only assisting by encouragement and becoming a good finder. This way we train them to be really good instructors after they have some more training. So that's part 2. We've gone through 7 slides now on instructor training. If you missed yesterday's, I did post a part 1 of instructor training on the Rainmaker site. And I will post this one in a few minutes. Does anyone have any questions that's on the line? Anyone want to go over anything, make any comments? Okay, looks like we're good. Any suggestions or comments that you want to make to me, or anything that you want to review or like me to review with your staff, just send me a message at greg@gregsilva.com, and we'll put some effort on that, and we'll give you either an answer privately or we'll actually make a meeting about it for next week. Thank you.